Well, we're back looking at the Sermon on the Mount, the greatest sermon ever preached. I've entitled this sermon, "The merciful and the peacemakers shall see God and be called children of God." Matthew chapter 5, verses 7 through 9. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Let's start by asking this question. What does it mean to be merciful? Because that's where the promise lies. There's a blessing for those people that are merciful. This word goes all the way back to the Old Testament, and it means far more than just compassion or sympathy. It really is requiring a lot of effort on our part to really do this, to really be merciful people. Because it means the ability to get right inside other people until we can see things with their eyes, and think with their minds, and feel with their feelings. Now, I know what most of your families read that. That's impossible. But let me just say this. Most of us don't even try. We don't even try to empathize with people, don't really understand why they are the way they are. So therefore, we do the opposite of this. What is the opposite of being merciful? Huh? Unmerciful? Uncharitable? There's a word, and Jesus will address this later on. As a matter of fact, it also be found in the book of James. Mercy is opposed to being judgmental. We judge people because we don't want to take the time to understand them. We just want to assume that they're wrong and we're right. And so the idea of not being merciful has everything to do with being the type of person that is quick to judge. This is the story, right? Were these people quick to judge her? Did they want to stone her? Did they know anything about her? Did they know about her situation? Did they know about her home life? Did they know why she was in this situation? And by the way, she was caught in the act. So where's the guy? Or was it a setup? Nobody cared. All they want to do is pronounce judgment. So what was Jesus' answer to this unruly mob wanting to judge and not show mercy? What was the answer? We'll get to it in a minute. I think you all know it, but Jesus would sit with the sinners, converse with them, and the Pharisees were just dumbfounded. It's guilt by association, so they would ask this question to the other disciples that were following. Why is your teacher eating with tax collectors and sinners? And Jesus understood this, so here's what he said to them. Go and learn what this means. Don't know the lesson he wants them to learn here? Don't know what he's going to say next? I desire what? Mercy. I'm sitting with these people, getting to know these people, because I am a merciful God. I'm not a judgmental God. I'm not going to pronounce a judgment on these people just because they live sinful lives. I desire mercy, not sacrifice. They were really good, the Pharisees and the religious types, at sacrificing, at removing themselves from anything that was unholy. And Jesus said, listen, I have come for these people. I've come to call the sinners, not the righteous. He constantly attacked, maybe attacked is too strong of a word, he constantly confronted the Pharisees because they were getting everything wrong about God. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! You tithe on the mint and the dill and the cumin, but you neglect the weightier matters of the law. What are the weightier matters of the law? To be just and to be merciful. He said you ought to done the former without neglecting the latter. And then he says you're always straining out the gnat and swallowing the camel. You're always concentrating on little things and you're forgetting the big things. What was the big thing? The big thing was being just and merciful. If you're not merciful, God does not have any mercy for you. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy. If you will not be merciful and empathetic, God will not show you mercy or empathy. Is it true? You think it's at the cornerstone of the Bible over and over again that if we are not merciful people, there is no mercy for us. We say in the Lord's Prayer, forgive us our debt as we forgive others. Those people who have a debt against us. But then it goes on to say, if we forgive others their trespasses, their Heavenly Father will forgive you. But if you will not forgive their trespasses, our Father will not forgive us. James, who was the brother of Jesus, said, for judgment is without mercy for the one who has shown no mercy. You want to be on the wrong side of God? You want judgment to be your life? Well then, show no mercy. That's why Jesus said later on, and we're not going to spend a lot of time here, but I just have to cover this because judgment is the opposite of mercy. That's why he told us not to judge. Why shouldn't you judge? What would judging require to judge somebody properly? What would that require? What? Yeah, number one, you would have to be without sin, but number two, you would have to know more. Jesus said, for with the judgment you pronounce, it's going to be judged to you. With what you measure, it's going to be measured back to you. And then he says, why do you see the speck in your brother's eye, and you don't notice the log that is in your own eye? Show me a judgmental person, and I will show you a person with a log in their eye. As a matter of fact, the log in the eye is this hypocrisy of judging people without having full knowledge of them, and also judging them when you might have the same sins or even greater in your own life. There's an old French proverb that says, to know all is to forgive all. We don't know all, so that's why we tend not to forgive. But if you take the log out of your eye, if you remove the judgment, if you remove the severity, you will begin to see clearly. See, this is what I think it was. The weightier matters of the law were like the log that is stuck in the Pharisaical religious person's eye. He doesn't want to be merciful, which is the main requirement of God's law. He wants to be judgmental, and therefore that sin is a log. He refuses to show mercy to the sinful and to the broken and to anyone who isn't as righteous as he is. And because of that, he can't see God. You will not see God until you learn how to be merciful. Again, show me a judgmental person, and I will show you someone who does not know God or has ever seen God. Show me a person who is merciful, and I will show you somebody who has seen God. Let me give you a little test. See how free of judgment you are. I'm going to show some people groups up here and ask you your thoughts. What is our knee-jerk reaction? Not all of us, but a lot of us. Yeah, blood starts to boil. Let me ask you, are these people more culpable of sin than we are when we sin? No. If we really believe the Bible, and hopefully we do, these people are blind. These people are in the captivity of Satan. These people don't know right from wrong. So when they sin, it's far less severe than when you sin. And we pronounce judgment on them. People who are blind and imprisoned to Satan, we better be careful. And you say, well, Pastor, you better give me a chapter and verse on it. How many people remember the story of Jonah? None of them would make these people look like choir boys and girls. Nineveh was one of the most wicked cities. And Jonah had no interest in being merciful to them, not even a little bit. And remember what God came and said? Should not have pity on Nineveh, this great city. And then he goes on to say, who do not know what? The right hand from the left. Be careful when you judge these people, because God is up there going, you don't know the right hand from the left. You know your hand, you know the right hand from your left. So when you sin, it's actually worse than what these people do. But you don't want to be merciful, right? You want these people to get what's coming to them. And that's why Jesus said these words. You shall love, you've heard it said, love your neighbor, hate your enemies. I'm going to tell you something totally different. I'm going to say, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. If you had to weigh on a scale the amount of time you've criticized these people and the amount of times you've prayed for them, how would that scale? If you had to put on how many times you really, really dislike them and how many times you were trying to love them, what would the scale be? Beginning to see it now, aren't you? Judgment as opposed to mercy. Because if we're not going to do this, we're in a bad place. And by the way, these are progressive. And I do believe once you get to the place where you're examining your heart becomes pure. Jesus says, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. This word for purity has to do with removing stain, has to do with removing chaff, has to do with removing impurities out of wine. In other words, you take an examination of the situation and you begin to remove things that are not pleasing. You begin removing things that are not, shouldn't be there. Where is the purity of, where is it? What does Jesus say it is? The pure of what? The heart. People who have dug into their hearts and have looked for the impurities in their heart and have taken a knife and have cut out anything that disagrees with the Scripture or with God's heart. Have you done that? Have you asked God to do that? Purify my heart. Not what Paul says about the Jewish people, because we're always like, oh, the Jew. No, listen, this is the definition of what a Jew is. No, listen, Paul, no one is a Jew who is merely one outwardly, nor is circumcision outward and physical. Listen what he says. But a Jew is one inwardly, and the circumcision is a matter of the heart, by the Spirit, not of the letter. His praise is not from man, but from God. God calls us to circumcise our heart, cutting away the flesh, cutting away the worldliness, and removing all of it, and then presenting it to God. Where do you scribes and Pharisees? For you clean the outside of the cup and the plate, but inside, in the heart. And this is what I'm going to ask you to do. We're going to do a challenge here for you. He mentions two things specifically, and I want you to look into your heart to see if any of these things exist. Because they exist in the religious without the religious knowing about it. Here are the two things. Greed and self-indulgence. And I believe when he says blind Pharisees, he is saying your greed has made you blind and your self-indulgence has made you blind. Well, we'll get into that later in the Beatitudes. Can greed blind us? Can self-indulgence blind us? Can it keep us from seeing God? Remember, and I will say this right here, all of what Jesus is saying in these three chapters are all about this. Unless your righteousness exceeds that of the scribes and Pharisees, you're not going to enter the kingdom of heaven. Their outside is clean, but their inside, they refuse to examine it. They allow greed in their life, they allow self-indulgence in their life, and they allow, and we'll see this later, they're just lovers of praise. Everything they did to be seen by others. They sought not the glory that came from God, but from men. And by the way, if you've ever asked yourself this question, what does it mean to be worldly? How many people have heard the term being worldly? That person dresses really worldly. He goes to a lot of worldly movies. Hangs around with a lot of worldly people. You want to see what it means to be worldly? Listen. 1 John. Do not love the world or the things in the world. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in it. It's all about love. It's all about what you love. Listen what he says. Next verse. Here's the world. The desires of the flesh. That's self-indulgence. The desires of the eyes, that's greed. The pride of life, that's the praise of men. The Pharisees were worldly and they thought they were godly because they abstained from certain things. And God said, get down in the heart, you'll see you're self-indulgent. Get down in the heart, you'll see you're greedy. Get down in the heart, you'll see you want the praise and glory that comes from men. Down to the heart. See what's there. See what's motivating you. Self-indulgence, greed, honor from men. If you will examine these things, Jesus challenged the Pharisees, the religious. Look. If you will examine them and cleanse yourself from them, you will begin to see spiritually. David was a man after God's own heart, and here was his prayer. And I say we should pray this prayer every day. Search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my thoughts. See if there be any wicked way in me, and lead me. You know why David prayed this way, Susan? Because let me just say this. Most of the wickedness that's in us, we don't see it. We're blind to it. And that is it's a vicious cycle. We're blind to it because we're doing it. We don't see it because we're in the circle of it. But if we cry out to God, God, I'm interested in you examining my heart and revealing my wickedness. Let me say this. If you will pray this prayer seriously, get ready. God will take you to the woodshed, and it'll be the best beauty you've ever got in your life. Remove from me these things. If you want to be fruitful in the kingdom, remember, every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes it. He cuts things away. He purifies. So that why? So it may bear more fruit. Get to it. Purify your heart. Let God purify your heart. And then finally, this last thing, before we get into all that persecution stuff next week. What does it mean to be a peacemaker? Right? Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall, wow, I love this, be called sons or daughters of God. Being a peacemaker, what does that mean? Let me ask you, what's the opposite of being a peacemaker? Troublemaker! Whoa! Got some theologians in here. Peacemaker, troublemaker. Do we all know people that for whatever reason, trouble seems to follow them everywhere? Drama seems to follow them everywhere. Strife, anxiety, this one against this one. Oh, I got this one over this one, and this one, and that one, and this one, and this one. And this. My life is filled with strife and people that are just ignorant. And they never look at themselves and say, am I the common denominator? Is my life filled with strife because my heart is? Do I have trouble around me because I'm always causing it? Wow. For some reason, we never see it, right? I've been a pastor for over 40 years. I imagine some board meetings look like this in some churches. When somebody falls in a church, you'll find out the heart of the church. When somebody falls in a church, you'll find out the heart of the church. If everybody has a stone and just wants to take them down. Remember the guy who was caught on the Jumbotron with the lady? Holding the lady like that? And everybody in the road just laid into the guy. Even people that probably did that frequently. When somebody's caught, punish that person. Bring judgment on that person. And the only way to stop the angry crowd is this. Stop. Look inside. Is that sin in you? Is there even a tendency of that sin in you? We're so quick to judge others, and we're so slow to judge ourselves. Everybody else is at fault, but we're not. But what if we were peacemakers? It means to be right with God, at peace with God, and it means to be at peace with others. Just a few more scriptures here. Here's something the Bible says to all of us. If possible, so far as it depends upon you, live peaceably with everybody. What does this mean? How many people have relatives? Neighbors, communities, and there's no peace. Listen, as much as it depends upon you, right? If you can do something to bring peace, do it. But here it warns you: don't go out seeking vengeance against this person. Don't ever do that. If there's a breach, quickly mend it. If there's a wound, quickly heal it. If there's bitterness, try to sweeten it. That's what it means to be a peacemaker. The blessedness of having a heart that is just like your Father, where you cry out to God, not punish the sinners, but you cry out to God, search my heart. Punish me. Punish my sin. When I retaliate in judgment against somebody, it's probably because I don't know that person, but I know me, and I should be judging me, not that person. How many people believe that Jesus is like a refiner's fire? This is the way Malachi describes him. The coming of the Messiah, he is like a refiner's fire. And what he's going to do when he comes is he's going to sit there like a refiner, and he's going to start purifying the silver. He's going to start purifying the sons of Levi. He's going to start refining them. That's what God's doing in us. Timothy says, listen, in a great house, and we're that great house, there are not only vessels of gold and silver, there's also wood, hay, and clay. Some of dishonorable use. He says, listen what it says here. Therefore, if anyone cleanses himself, you have to start saying, what is in me that is wood, hay, and not gold? Build on the foundations of gold, not of hay, straw. It's going to be revealed by fire. Final challenge. It's a quote from Oswald Chambers, and I like it. It really gets down to the essence of us being pure gold. Being gold, not just on the surface like the Pharisees were, but if you go all the way down, layer upon layer, it's all gold. Listen what Chambers says. Sincerity means that the appearance and the reality are exactly the same. The way I appear with hate.
Thanks for listening to this message from River Mountain Church. If you'd like some more information, visit our website, rivermountainchurch.org.